In this video, we are talking about lymph. Lymph is another type of a body fluid and is an important part it performs important functions. Another term for the lymph is the tissue fluid or the interstitial fluid. When we talk of lymph is a colorless and it is a clear liquid. So the first thing is it is a clear and colorless liquid. The composition, when we talk of the composition of lymph is similar to that of the blood plasma. So the composition is similar to blood plasma. And one of the important thing is, although it is similar in composition to blood plasma, the number or the percentage of the protein which is found in the lymph is quite less than that of the blood plasma. So the amount of the protein will be less as compared to the plasma. Also, there are no RBCs present in the lymph, neither no platelets. So there are no blood platelets and no RBC. Also, the percentage of proteins is very less. So if we see to the chemical constituent of the plasma, it is around 94% is water and rest 6% is the solid. So this forms the lymph, which is a tissue fluid. Now, how is lymph formed? When we are talking of lymph, how is lymph formed? Now, we know that the blood passes through the capillaries. When the blood is pumped from the heart, it passes through the capillaries to the various tissues, cells, etc. And as it passes, some of the plasma moves out of these capillaries and fills in the space between the tissues and the cells. So as blood is passing through the tissues and the cells through the blood capillaries, since the lining of the capillaries are very thin, it allows certain amount of the plasma to move out. But the larger proteins are left behind because they are not able to pass through the thin capillary vessels. Also, the formed elements, that is the RBCs and the platelets, are also not able to pass through the capillaries. And as a result, the plasma is basically, when the lymph is formed, it is having composition similar to that of plasma, and that is the reason why we do not find RBCs and platelets, and the percentage of the protein is comparatively very less in lymph as that of plasma. So since this fluid is present between the tissues and the cells, we also call it as a tissue fluid or the interstitial fluid. Now, what causes the formation of the plasma? There are two major forces that bring about steady filtration of plasma. We call it as a steady filtration because the plasma passes through the thin capillary wall. So there are two forces that are responsible for the formation. First is the capillary pressure. The capillary pressure, that is the blood which is flowing within that with the pressure, that develops a capillary pressure which, if different from the tissue fluid, because the pressure in the capillary will be obviously high, so, and as compared to that of the pressure within the tissues, so over there the plasma moves out. Also, the second important is the osmotic pressure in the tissue fluid. Osmotic pressure in the tissue fluid. These two forces are primarily responsible. Now, what do we mean by osmotic pressure in the tissue fluid? The tissue fluid has certain amount of substances soluble in it. So, if the percentage or if there is a difference in the concentration of the substances in the blood which is passing the blood which is passing in the capillaries and the tissues, then that difference will also cause the plasma to move out of the capillaries and enter into the space between the cells and the tissues and form the lymph. Now this lymph has, as told, they have much lower concentration of proteins than the plasma. It also contains lot of water, some plasma protein, electrolytes are there, lipids are there, then leukocytes are there, coagulation factors are there. These things are also present, but they are present in very less quantity. Now these, when we talk of the lymph, now this lymph is present within the tissues and the cells, like in between the spaces between the cells and the tissues, and it has to be drained out. So there is a complete system which operates with the lymph, and that system is known as lymphatic system. Lymphatic system. Now, lymphatic system is responsible for regularly draining out this liquid, and again finally this lymph goes back through the main vein and re-enters into the central circulation, and that is, it forms a part of the central circulation again. So all this lymph will be again through the major veins is drained back and becomes a part of the main circulatory system. Now when we talk of the lymphatic system, the first part will be obviously the lymph, which is the fluid which is present over there. Then it is the lymphatic capillaries, which actually are formed and which carry the lymph, that is, they help in draining out the lymph. Then there are lymph nodes, that is the places where the capillaries are forming a network, and as a result the lymphoid organs are also there. Then the thymus and bone marrow are the two lymphoid organs. So these all parts form the lymphatic system, and these lymphatic capillaries drain back the lymph into the major veins, and these major veins again re-enter into the blood and form a part of the circulatory system. Now when we talk of the functions of the lymphatic system or the lymph performs quite an important function. First is the transportation of nutrients. So first function which it is performing is the transportation that it is the first function. When we talk of the function, first function is transportation. Now the various nutrients, essential nutrients, are transported by the lymph within the body. It transports oxygen, hormones, very important nutrients through the blood to the cells of the body. Another important function is the fluid. It maintains the fluid and the blood protein balance. So second is fluid and protein balance. This is the second important function. When the blood circulates throughout the body, right? So a lot of fluid which is filtered by the capillaries get trapped in the tissues of the body. That is interstitial fluid we are talking. Now this fluid, this loss of this fluid is very, very important because it is rich in several vital proteins which are required by the body cells. And the lymph prevent this loss by returning these proteins again to the circulatory system, because it again goes back to the main circulatory system. Then third, it is helpful in process of digestion, and mainly it is also responsible for the removal of the dead blood cells, excess fluid and all. So third important point is it helps in removal of waste. Removal of waste, that is the dead blood cells, excess body fluid, waste, etc. are removed with the help of this fluid. The most important function which is performed by the lymph is the immunity. This is one of the most important functions. Immunity is provided by this because it has lymphocytes. Lymph is circulating throughout the body. That means it is present within the body at between all the spaces between the cells and the tissues, and it has lot of lymphocytes which form a part of the immune system. As I told you, in the lymphatic system we have the lymphoid organs, that is the thymus and the bone marrow. So these organs secrete B cells and T cells which are important for the immunity. So these help in fighting against microorganisms and other foreign bodies and various kinds of other infections. So lymph is an important fluid that helps in performing all these major functions and forms a part of the body fluid.